Good day! I am Angel Ann, a BSHM student of Visayas State University. For today, I'm going to show you my final project for the Macro Perspective of Tourism and Hospitality course, an online scrapbook entailing the history of travel and tourism in all ages. Hospitality, derived from the Latin word hospes, which encompasses the words host, guest, and stranger. On the other hand, tourism derived from the Greek word for a tool used in describing a circle. It came from the Hebrew word Torah, which means studying, searching, and learning. Early tourism. It is the exploration and travel are essential to humans. People in the past traveled only for business and religious purposes. Romans and Greeks were well-known traders in the past. Improvements in first-class roads, inns, and communications. The Appian Way is the best and oldest road in Rome. Leisure travel existed already, but is not yet widespread. It is only limited. Religious travels were in the form of pilgrimages to places of worship. Cities of Rome and Jerusalem were the famous sites for pilgrims in the past. Glacilia, Spain became the foremost destination for English pilgrims in the 14th century. Medieval period. The fall of the Roman Empire in the 5th century brought the decline in travel. During this time, travel became difficult, dangerous, and demanding. Roads were not maintained and it became unsafe for travelers. Thieves inflicted harm on those who attempted to travel. No one traveled for pleasure during this time. Only the pilgrims and crusaders traveled at this time. Renaissance and Elizabethan era. In this period, fewer owned universities were developed. The British introduced travel for education, which became popular in 16th century. During the Queen Elizabeth I, young aristocrat men who were aiming for position in the court were encouraged to travel with the continent to increase their knowledge. The education of gentlemen should be completed with a grand tour. This tour includes visiting different cultural centers in the continent for 3 years. Aside from educational travel, people also traveled for health and wellness. Sick people traveled and sought for a remedy for their illness in medical baths or spa. Baths in France, Italy, and Bohemia became fashionable in the 18th and 19th century. The photo beside me shows the picture of the Great Bath in England. It is mostly untouched and remains an example of what bathhouses were like. Industrial Revolution brought a significant change in the type and scale of tourism development, brought social changes and made travel more desirable. The increase of productivity, job regulation, and growing urbanization. 19th century. The advancement of technology made travel more convenient, and the earlier part of 19th century, the railway system and steam power were introduced. These advancements of technology make travel more convenient and comfortable. Photography and instructional materials such as guidebooks became popular. Among the guidebooks printed, the Baedeker guidebook were the most popular because it is just not only contain basic information but it also includes details on how to visit the destination and suggested tourist attractions that are worth visiting. Cox and Kings were the first known travel agency, but only for the travel needs of the British Armed Forces. In this photo, we can see Thomas Cook, the father of modern tourism. His first excursion trip occurred in 1841 between the Leicester and Loughborough, with the 571 passengers provided with meals entertained with brass music. In 1866, he introduced the circular notes which were accepted in the banks, hotels, restaurants, and shops. This was in effect the first traveler's check. Considered his contribution, he was named the father of modern tourism. In 20th century, the development of the travel and tourism industry has been interrupted at several critical points in history, including the World War I and the World War II. After the World War II, it led to an increase in travel interest influenced by the advancement in aircraft's technology. Air travel became more comfortable and faster compared to the other forms of transport. There were also an increase in private car ownership. 21st century. At the start of the century, global events like September 11, 2001, World Trade Center, New York City bombing, the war in Iraq, terrorist attack, and the health scare hit the decline in international travel. The century also brought a massive technological transformation as the increase in internet usage revolutionized travel services. So now let's jump up to the history of travel and tourism in the Philippines. During the Spanish occupation, travelers were limited only for education, employment, and religious pilgrimages. Only a few people can travel to a foreign country because it was expensive and time-consuming. For example, traveling to Spain could take 1 year via Manila-Acapulco galleon train route. American occupation. During the celebration of American independence on July 4, 1912, the Americans opened the Manila Hotel, which became the city's landmark. The journey from America to Manila usually took 2 weeks by ocean liner. In 1935, the first transferring flight was inaugurated. Americans reached Manila Harbor in just 59 hours on board on China Clippers. In 1937, the country's first private airport was established. It was the country's first airline. The Philippine Airlines took its first flight in 1941. In this juncture, let's talk about the earliest tourism organization in the Philippines. In 1952, the country's first tourism association was organized, the Philippine Tourist and Travel Association, or PTTA. In 1956, the government, through Republic Act 1478, created the Board of Travel and Tourism Industry, or BTTI. In 1973, the BTTI was organized into the Ministry of Tourism, now known as the Department of Tourism. In 1974, the DOT hosted international conference and sporting events. In 1977, the University of the Philippines offered the first tourism degree course in the country. In 1989, the DOT launches its first promotional campaign with the slogan, Fiesta Island, Philippines. In the 1990s, local civil aviation boosted tourism in the country when budget airlines entered the business. In 2000, the celebration of public holiday was moved to the nearest weekend. In 2003, DOT launches promotional campaign Wow Philippines. In 2010, tourism in the country faced 3 major crises. First was the criticism of marketing campaign Pilipinas Kay Ganda. Many criticized it because it resembles the Poland's tourism organization's logo. Secondly, all Philippine carriers were banned from driving over European airspace because they failed to meet the international safety standards. And lastly, it was the hostage-taking incident at Quirino Grandstand when a man who had formerly worked as a police officer kidnapped a group of visitors from Hong Kong. In 2012, DOT launched the new marketing campaign, It's More Fun in the Philippines. The campaign Visit the Philippines Year in the 2015 and the Visit Philippines Again in 2016 campaign. In 2017, former Secretary Wanda Corazon Teo launched a 60-second promotional video with the new slogan, Experience the Philippines. In 2009, the DOT launches the It's More Fun in the Philippines and focus on promoting the country's sustainable tourism destination. That's all for today, and I hope that you understand and enjoy my presentation. Thank you and mabuhay!